Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff Moms Have Time For. My name is Rebecca and today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little lamb cake just in time for Easter. If you're looking for some creative Easter cake ideas, this one is really simple and I'm going to walk you through how to do it now. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe for more videos on cakes, DIYs, and cooking. I am going to start out with my basic buttercream and I will leave the recipe in my description box below. I love this recipe, it's very versatile. It can be a little bit messy to make in the kitchen, but it's always worth it over store-bought in my opinion. I have already pre-stacked and crumb-coated a 6-inch cake, and I am going to be using an offset spatula and a bench scraper for this part of the cake. If you're interested in how to stack cakes and crumb coat cakes, I will be doing a separate tutorial soon on just the basics of stacking a cake to make it look nice and level. But here I am just going to be putting some buttercream on one part of the cake, which is going to be the lamb's face. You don't need to put it all over the entire cake after you've done a crumb coat because you will be covering it with icing and it would probably just be a little bit too much if you ice the rest of the cake as well. I'm going to be using two different tips today to make my little rosettes. They're both star tips, just in different sizes. The larger one is the Wilton 1M and the smaller one is the Wilton 21. And then I'm going to use a toothpick to basically draw a heart-shaped outline on the front of the cake that I've iced. And that is going to be my guide as to where the lamb's face is. So on the top, I'm going to put one large rosette so I know the center of the face, and then I'm going to do one on each side of where I've marked my face for the cake. Then I'm going to go in and just outline some rosettes on the mark that I've made to follow the entire structure of the face of the lamb. You don't need to make large rosettes, you can make small ones, you can do dabs, and then you can use the smaller star piping tip to fill it in. You do want it to look like hair, so I find that the more you play around with it, the more textured it actually looks. You want it to look like wool, so it's going to have different textures, so you can really play with it. There's no really wrong way to do it. And I'm going to take my smaller piping tip and do small rosettes all around the top of the head. And then go in with my larger piping tip and do the same. And I'm going to keep working my way into the center. It's okay to do kind of like a pull out with the rosettes. You don't need them to be flower-like. You want them to be more like tufts of hair. So once I'm finished with the top of my cake, I'm going to make sure I've framed the face of the lamb really well before I fill in the rest of the cake. So piping is my favorite part of any cake project. I like it much more than fondant, and you really can do this any way you want. Just make sure all of the space is filled in. Once I'm happy with all of my fur, I'm going to put a candy heart as my lamb's nose. And I could use fondant for the eyes, but I've just decided to make my life a little bit easier, and I am using a pre-bought black food coloring gel to do the eyes and the mouth of my lamb. I would recommend practicing out on parchment paper before you put this on the cake because it can take a little bit of practice to get the pressure right to actually draw things the way that you'd like them to come out on the cake. So I always recommend doing a practice run before you use these on cakes. Now, I keep calling this lamb a him, but because it has eyelashes, my daughter automatically thinks it's a girl. I don't know, vote in the comments whether or not you have weird things like that in your family. And then I am just gonna do the mouth and make sure it's as even as you can get it. Then I am going to take 2 small pieces of fondant and I am going to make little ears as a finishing touch for my lamb. I am going to shape them out on top of a piece of parchment paper. And I'm just going to make them thicker on one side and more pointy on the other, and kind of shape them symmetrically how I think their ears should be. And I'm also going to insert a toothpick so that this has some structure and I can also easily put it into my cake. And once I have a nice shaped ear, I'm gonna do the same thing to the other ear. Once I'm happy with them, I am going to add a little bit of paint to give them a little bit more dimension. So I'm just going to use clear vodka and 1 drop of food coloring because it's easy to paint onto fondant. With vodka, it will just evaporate and you'll just be left with the color. So it's a good way to dilute your colors if you're not going for something very striking. And I'm just going to use a little paintbrush to paint on like the inner triangle part of my ear to add some dimension. And I'm going to do this to both sides. Once I've let my fondant dry a little bit, I am going to take my cake. I usually use my offset spatula, stick it underneath, and then kind of make sure that nothing's sticking before I transfer my cake onto my actual cake pan. And then if you see any imperfections or errors, you can just use your piping tip and whatever leftover icing you have to fill in any gaps and correct any mistakes you may see. And then I'm just gonna put my ears in this little guy. As you can see, my younger daughter at the corner of the screen absolutely loved this cake and was watching me put the whole thing together. I think it came out so pretty and it's a really cute family-friendly cake idea for Easter. It's not very hard to make, so please, if anyone makes this cake or give it a try, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys what desserts you like to make on Easter. Also, if you are interested, I do make a traditional Easter pie. I did that video last year, so I will put a link in the description below to that pie because that is a delicious one. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys next time.